And we're live again. This is the Michael Ellis Show. We're on episode 6. And today we've got the comeback coach, Mike Searles. Welcome to the show. How are you, Mike?
Michael Ellis, what a pleasure to be with you live on your own show and with your audience as well. I'm doing super well, thank you. In fact, no, I'm going to give you the answer I give to anybody who asks me how I'm going. Terrific.
Terrific. I like that answer. So, would you like to give a little bit of introduction about yourself to the audience? What have you done in life? Where have you been? And how have you got to where you are? Just a quick overview.
Quick? You ask me a question like that, you want me to be quick? Well, I'm 62, so I've done a bit. And I've done more than most. And I don't mean that in a boastful way. It's just that that's the way life turned out for me. But where am I now? Well, I'm a former suicidal alcoholic who has been clean and sober and well since 2009. And 2009 is a significant year because that's the year when in March 2009 I sat in the addiction doctor's office and he asked me straight out, are you going to change or are you going to die before the end of the year? And that's how it was. So that's the start of a comeback journey of my own. And now I'm on a mission to help bring 100,000 people out of a setback or out of adversity and back to a life of serenity where there's success, there's calm, there's peace, and there's a trouble-free mind. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So you've got this brand new podcast that you've just released last year, and eight episodes in. Do you want to just quickly tell us about that and what it's about? What's your goal with that? And just let us know.
I'd love to
quickly about it.
Yes. Very hard for me to be quick. Obviously, somebody's spoken in your ear and said, remind Michael to be quick because I can talk under wet cement. So if I start to prattle on or I do not be backwards in coming forwards by saying, Michael, you shut up, we've got more questions. So, okay, you want me to be quick. I started a podcast late last year and I've published 8 episodes and it's on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, and all the other major ones. You've only got to search Mike Searles, the comeback coach. 8 episodes. Now, I only just found out today that most people who start a podcast don't get beyond publishing 10 episodes. Well, I've got a goal this year, 2021, to publish 100 podcasts, and I'm going to do it. Watch me. And the reason why I've set that target is because I have to reach at least 100,000 people. You know what? Why 100,000? Do I want to reach 100,000 and help 100,000 people come back from adversity and setback? The actual figure is over 1 million. But if I said 1 million, no one would believe me, right? I'd lose credibility. So I say 100,000 because it's a little bit more feasible. It's a bit more believable. But I'll blow your pants off right now. My target is 100,000 a month. So I still want to reach over 1 million people in a year. And I'm going to do it too. And I'll tell you what, because people are dying. That's the seriousness. All jokes and all flippancy aside, there are people suffering right now in a setback of some kind. And suicide is very real. Suicidal tendencies is very real. Depression that leads to suicidal tendencies is very real. And so sadly, people are killing themselves every day. And I want to be a contributor to help alleviate some of that.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And congratulations on your 8 episodes in so far. I actually listened to 2 of them last night.
You're the one.
So I'm the one. What do you mean? the one and only listener.
Yeah, I checked the stats. I had 2 listeners. Now I know who it is.
Yeah. It was me. I were checking it out. Because, I've got to do my due diligence and give a little bit of research beforehand. So that's what I did. So guys, quickly, before we go any further, if you visit michaelelisonline.com/go/comeback podcast, that will take you straight over to Mike Sears' podcast, which from there you can decide which platform you want to listen to.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
Or following that, there's also michaelelisonline.com/go/comeback YouTube, which will take you across to his YouTube version of the podcast. Well, at least that's what I believe that what it is.
You have been doing your homework. There's no doubt about it. Kudos to you. Kudos to you.
So now onto the more or less onto the interview side of things. We've gone through how you've got to where you are and what you've recently been up to. But give us a little insight of what you was doing last year before the podcast launched.
Okay, so 2009, can I just quickly go back to 2009? So I'm unemployed and unemployable. That's how sick, sad and broke I was at the time. Before that, I actually had a professional career. I started out I studied sociology and graduated as a social worker. And I've coached, back then it was called counselling, but I've coached thousands of people in one way or another, coached, counselled, consulted. But I had a professional career, 2009, in that state on the journey back. And so in treatment and in recovery, I had a lot of time. And so I would get online and I'm thinking I've got to generate some income for myself. And I stumbled across copywriting, and so I, to cut the story short, I told you I could talk under wet cement. I studied copywriting. I went all in, and in 2013, I got my first paid copywriting client, $35 US, and the copy I wrote was terrible. So that was the start. So I could literally call myself a professional copywriter because somebody had paid me a fee. But I did get a lot better, and in fact, I got not to A grade level, but certainly above average because I invested a lot of time and study with the greats, and in fact became a certified Dan Kennedy copywriter. And Dan Kennedy in marketing and in direct response marketing is a bit of a legend. So that's what I was doing. But I started doing some coaching in the marketing side of things. So I was doing a lot of copywriting for chiropractors, and as an adjunct to that, I started doing some coaching as well. And it reminded me how much I love the one-to-one work in coaching, communicating, talking. And so I started doing more of that, and then I realized that I wanted to do more coaching along the lines of personal development, self-improvement, self-help. You could call it life coaching if you wanted to. And that's led me. And then when the pandemic hit, the March last year, I already had the momentum running, and I had clients, coaching clients, and I already had the momentum. But I realized that there was going to be a greater need, and that has certainly proven to be the case. And so that's why I'm now doing probably 80% of my business is coaching and 20% is now copywriting, whereas it used to be the other way around.
Great. That's interesting. So you prefer the one-to-one setting, the one-to-one sessions, working intimately with a client?
Well, I'll tell you something, Michael. In what is it now, 2013, 8 or 9 years of writing copy, there's not one testimonial that I've had from a client that's brought me to tears. But there's been one testimonial from a coaching client that literally had me with tears running down my cheeks. His testimonial was, Mike, you've changed my life. And that really cut me. I mean, it really, really moved me. And I know I could never get that from copywriting. But I know I can and I do get that involvement from one-on-one coaching, and my intention is to move the design of my work into one-to-many coaching and also digital coaching programs as well, which is what I'm working on at the moment. Excuse me. Which is what I'm also working on at the moment.
Great. So you just mentioned there you were a Dan Kennedy certified copywriter. What does that mean? Does that mean Dan Kennedy had his own certification and his own school for copywriters?
Not a school as such. He has a course. It's friggin' expensive. I suppose everything is relative, but to me it's thousands of dollars to do it, and it's done through AWAI. At least that's where it was. I signed up in 2013 to do the Dan Kennedy Certified Copywriting Program, and that was through AWAI, which is American Writers and Artists Inc., and that's where Dan Kennedy's course was, and it's an online course where you do get hard copy training manuals sent to you in this big box, comes with big manuals, and so there's a lot of work in it, and it's not just like you pay a fee which then gets you a certificate or certified Dan Kennedy. It's not like that at all. You've got to prove that you've done the work, so there's assignment work that's to be done, and there's a final assessment which is done. It's said by Dan Kennedy himself. Well, I know the caliber of Dan Kennedy. I just trust it that he did assess the work, and so that was what I went through. And so you do get a certificate, and then what that means, Michael, is that you are then eligible to use that designation, Dan Kennedy Certified Copywriter for Info Marketers is the actual information, is the full designation. So that's what that was, and that's what that is. And I think there's only 500, maybe 600 certified Dan Kennedy certified copywriters on the planet as at the moment. So it's still look, if you've got that designation after your name, it means a few things. One, you know something about copywriting, right? You're not a pretender. You've invested time and money, obviously, into improving your skill, and that gives credibility. And Dan Kennedy name, I mean, it's talk about riding on the coattails of somebody, Michael, one of the biggest names in the direct response marketing field, Dan Kennedy. So that's what that means. And it's helped me. It's brought me clients. There's no doubt about it, because I have another blog where I state that I'm a Dan Kennedy certified copywriter, and I answer that question. What does it mean, Dan Kennedy certified? Look, some people say, who's Dan Kennedy? And, all right, it's not known by everybody. And then for those who do know Dan Kennedy, well, what does it mean you're a Dan Kennedy certified copywriter? So I've actually got a page that explains that on a blog.
Hence the reason why I asked you.
Always a reason.
Always a reason.
Yeah.
So that's it's interesting. It's interesting to learn what's actually out there, because I never knew he had a certified copywriting course. So it was interesting to learn that. That's fantastic. But like you said, you've moved over to about 80% coaching now, and you're around about 20% copywriting. Do you ever think you'll fully transfer over to 100% coaching, and do away with copywriting completely? No,
I don't think so. No, Dan Kennedy teaches that one is a very, very bad number in anything. To be doing only one thing, to have all your eggs in only one basket, to be relying on only one thing. I mean, can you imagine anybody relying only on Facebook for all their leads, with what's going on and what's likely to happen in the future if signs are anything to go by? Think about back when the Google slap happened, for those who remember, with Google advertising and the Google slap, where where entrepreneurs who relied almost entirely or 100% entirely on Google AdWords or AdSense and AdWords, suddenly Google changed the rules of the game, and people just went flat broke overnight. So anyway, no, in fact, it goes like this: coaching, consulting, collaboration. Copywriting's in there, but one-on-one to one and one-to-many coaching, also digital coaching, where I could be 3 o'clock in the morning, fast asleep and dribbling saliva on my pillow, and yet somebody could still be doing a Mike Searles comeback coaching training somewhere in the world, because it's pre-recorded, it's digital, and it's accessible on demand. And collaboration. So we're talking about income generation and business, because, you know, it's interesting, Michael. I do believe that anybody has it within them to be a coach. That's the first thing. Now, some people might say, oh, hang on a minute. I also say any 22-year-old with 62 years of experience can do what I do. So that's a little bit of a backhand swipe at kids who think they can do anything and become an expert, you know, because they've read Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets. Well, there's just a little bit more involved than just that. But I do believe anybody has it within them to be a coach. But I don't think everybody's got it within them to run a coaching business. And we're back.
And we're back.
Okay. And then the vicar said, now we can all have some fun. It's an old punchline to a joke that's told when something like that happens. So where was I? I did say that I believe anybody can become a coach, because there's ample information available to train and teach somebody how to coach somebody. That's the least of the worries. It's running a coaching business, running content to generate leads, to generate interest, to bring people into your funnel and communicate with them in such a way that somebody says, I want to sign up with you. That's not so easy, and it takes a lot of hard work.
You're not wrong. It does take a lot of hard work. It's harder than what people seem to think it is. Everybody does turn around and say, all this stuff is easy. It's simple. It's easy. You can go out there, you can have your own business. It's easy. It's simple. You just do this. You just do that. You do this. You do that. Blah, blah, blah. But they forget one thing. Anything that's easy or simple is damn bloody hard, because the barrier to entry is so low.
That's the truth.
And it's the persistence and the perseverance of one's own mind, of constantly putting in small action steps every day to get to that end result of where they want to be, which is usually owning their own business, having time freedom and what have you. But it takes a lot to get there.
Spot on, Michael. And it reminds me of a saying, systems work, people fail. If you're prepared to follow a system, stick to a proven system. There are systems that work. I follow one, and I'm still learning about systems that work the best. But some people, for whatever reason, think they don't need a system. They can go ad hoc, and it's tough. You know, I'm also reminded right way back to the 1980s when I was a social worker, and I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching face-to-face, but also telephone counselling on the old-fashioned telephone you hold to your ear, and connected with a cord. And I was buying my lunch this day up the street from the office, and the lady in the shop said, "What is it you do?" "I'm a counsellor." "Oh, what do you do?" Well, I'm on the phone. I actually talk to people on the phone. And she said, "Oh, you sit on the phone all day. Gee, that'd be all right." And I just thought, well, you really have no idea what's involved. Yeah, burnouts are very real. Burnout is very real in coaching, any one-on-one work. Michael, you probably already know that. Your listeners, or some of your listeners, may already know that. And this is why a system can help prevent burnout. If you don't have a system in place, you are at risk of anything happening and everything happening. Super effective and successful very fast. And you can have a blowout on all four tires and come to a screeching halt very quickly unless you have a system in place. I mean, I burnt out. I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I burnt out not only from social work, but I burnt out. I mean, I fizzled out in life. I came to a screeching halt. You know, I had this career, and may I tell you, I lived a lie. So what I mean by that is, my life was a facade. I would walk out of my front door, Michael, to go to work in the morning wearing crisp white shirt, silk tie, very smart suit, shoes, looking the goods. It was all fake because underneath I was suffering and depressed, but I didn't fully understand it all. And the depression wasn't like you get sad because you look out in the morning, it's a grey clouds, it looks like it's going to, not that kind of sadness. I'm talking about a clinical depression, which is totally unrelated to anything external. And this is something I suffered with for a long time, and eventually living the lie, self-medicating with alcohol and drugs as I did to become addicted. You can't live that kind of a life forever. And so, when I talk about burnout one way or another, it's very real and it can be very damaging. But by the grace of God, Michael, sorry to cut you off there. I did want to say, Alcoholics Anonymous have a saying. Every Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that I attended, and I've attended thousands of them, finished with the Serenity Prayer. And with permission, I'd like to say it. And this is not downloading religion on anybody. So please, Michael, anybody, the viewer, don't start to worry that I'm going to go religious on you. It's not going to happen. But the Serenity Prayer is this, and it's powerful. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Now, where's the power in that? Serenity to accept the things that you cannot change. There's things in life we can't change. You know that, Michael. Your viewers know that. Not everybody does. When we come to realise it, it's very freeing to know that you can't change everything. There's things outside of your control. But how do you know which are the things you can control and which you can't? Things you can change and which you can't. Courage to change the things you can change, and wisdom to know the difference between what you can change and what you can't change. That's the secret. And that's where serenity comes from, and that's where I found my serenity over the years, of making that delineation between, that's outside of my control. COVID-19 is outside of my control. Wearing of masks and shutting down businesses, it's outside of my control. I don't agree with it. I've got my own opinions, not going to go all political here, but it's outside of my control, as it is all of our control. What is in our control? And then you make the decisions and the choices, and you maintain some emotional and mental health that way.
That's great. So, as you can see, the title of this live stream is Positivity in Manifestation and Dreams with yourself. So, what's it mean to be positive in your views? And yeah, does everybody need to have a dream?
Wow, that's a great question, Michael. First of all, positivity. It sounds flippant to say it's the opposite of negativity, but there's kind of depth in that. The author of Power of Positive Thinking, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, said that he found something out late in life that he wished he had have learned early in life, and that is that a positive attitude attracts positive things, and a negative attitude attracts negative things. Now, it just sounds so simple, doesn't it? But he was a learned man, Norman Vincent Peale. Great book, by the way, if your listeners, viewers haven't read it. It's one of the old classics in the genre of self-help, The Power of Positive Thinking. I would highly recommend it. There's a ton of books that I would highly recommend, and that's one of them. Does everybody need a dream? Everybody needs a mission and a purpose. Now, we know that in corporate life, companies and corporations spend thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars with consultants to write them a mission and purpose, and it's a waste of bloody time, because it's all just intellectual piffle and waffle, and it's something that goes on to the corporate annual report, and it means nothing to anybody in the company. I've worked with companies like that. I know what that's about. A personal mission and purpose statement, that's something different, because that's backed with an emotion. And so what's an example of a personal mission and purpose statement? Well, I'm on a mission. I mentioned it earlier. I'm on a mission to help 100,000 people come back from a setback and do it quickly. Now, that's a mission I have. Where's my emotional attachment to that? Well, I told you my story, so you can work it out for yourself. This is not just an intellectual thing. It's not something I've seen somewhere on YouTube somebody doing and thought to myself, I think I'd like to do that. Oh, I'm going to do that. No, this is coming from experiential background. I've lived it. I've lived it. I've bled tears over it. It's in my whole system to want to help people who are suffering. And suffering, by the way, God forbid somebody who might be viewing right now is going through an addiction. I hope that's not the case. It's probably not. The viewer right now, Michael, is probably not addicted to drugs and alcohol. They're probably not flat broke. They're probably not burned every worthwhile relationship they've had, including family. I mean, this is all the things I did. Talk about the power of forgiveness. I mean, this is why I am very quick to stop myself when I see and recognize myself judging others and judging others critically. I pull myself back. I have no moral right or authority to judge anybody, lest I be again judged for my background. So I have family and people close to me who have forgiven me of my stupidity and some of my behaviour. And so forgiveness is very powerful. See, I told you, don't let me keep talking. I'll lose track of what we're talking. I've lost track of your question. Forgive me. So I'm going to cut myself off and come back to you.
Oh, it's amazing talking to you. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
So we were actually on about if everybody should have a dream.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know, but I would recommend everybody have a dream. I think life's better when you have a dream. I mean, what are the antonyms? What are the synonyms of having a dream? Having a goal, having a purpose, having a mission, having a target in life, having a sense of direction. These are all synonyms for what you're asked, what we're talking about. And I'd rather be positive than negative anytime. Is it humanly possible to be positive all the time? I don't think so. I've not yet met anybody. I'm certainly not like that. So
I was going to ask you that question.
Well, I went through something in the last 24 hours that sort of destabilized me. You might wonder why I'm wearing a rubber band on my wrist, which I flick like that. This is a little device. You can search this on YouTube, actually. Just search rubber band on wrist device and you'll see what this is about. This is a little device that I use to correct myself when I catch myself out thinking in a negative way. Because you can't be 100% positive all the time, because the negative thoughts don't come from your conscious mind. Most of them come from your subconscious mind, where we don't have any conscious control of what's bubbling around down there. We can have a conscious control over what we put in there, but we don't have any conscious control of what's coming up from the subconscious. And what's in the subconscious is Bob Proctor of Proctor Gallagher. Most people in the new age, in the law of attraction world, know of Bob Proctor, old as a dinosaur. He talks about paradigms and paradigm shift, and he talks about what is a paradigm. A paradigm is a collection or a bundle of thoughts and beliefs, and these bundles are relevant to certain things. For example, I have a paradigm over boiled tripe. Now, I don't know, tripe is a British thing, and I'm an Australian, so a colonist. Tripe is boiled. You're an English guy, so tripe is boiled sheep's gut, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, terrible stuff. I mean, I was fed tripe when I was a kid. Woeful stuff. I have a paradigm about tripe. Do not ever put a bowl of tripe in front of me. Now, here's the thing. Some people love tripe. So it's all relative, isn't it? Some people love Vegemite. Some people cannot stand Vegemite, Australian Vegemite. It's all relative. So I have a paradigm about tripe. I cannot stand tripe. I don't want to even smell it, eat it, see it, get it away from me. That's my paradigm. These paradigms, these bundles of thoughts and beliefs come from certainly since our childhood, as Bob Proctor teaches this. So this is not my ideas. I'm passing through knowledge from Bob Proctor. So when we're born, Michael, you'd know this. Your viewers would know this. When we're young babies, our conscious mind is just an open vessel for everything that goes into it. We don't have any capacity to filter out what's coming in. Now, between the ages of 0 and 2, so the day you're born up until the age of about 2 is the most impressionable years. No filter, everything that's in your environment goes in. Now, if you're in an environment where you're in a family where there's a dad and a mum, and the dad drinks a lot and gets violent and throws things around the house and bashes the mother, and you're just seeing this is all going into that subconscious and stored memories. And so these bundles of memories in the subconscious can and do continue there and can come up in adult life, and you've got no control over it. And so the subconscious is something that's very relevant when somebody is, there's a question, Michael, that's asked, why doesn't the law of attraction work for some people? Now, I don't just believe in the law of attraction. I know the law of attraction works because I use it. So there's believing and then there's knowing. The law of attraction works, but it works positively and negatively. Goes back to Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Negative beliefs, attitudes, negative outcomes, positive outcomes. The law of attraction and what's involved and behind the law of attraction is impartial. It's objective. There's no subjectivity about, you shouldn't really be thinking about a new car, that's a positive. You shouldn't really be thinking about going and having a drink, Mike. You shouldn't be thinking about that. If I keep thinking about having another drink I haven't touched a drink of alcohol since 2009, but if I were to start thinking about it, there's no part of the law of attraction and what's behind the law of attraction that's going to correct me. That's my belief. But why doesn't the law of attraction work for those who are committed to it and want it to work? And they read all the books, they listen to Bob Proctor, they listen to Dr. Joe Vitale, they listen to Abraham and all the rest of it. Paradigms, subconscious. Dr. Joe Vitale's got a great book, series of books actually on this, about how you can clean and clear some of these non-serving paradigms in the subconscious mind, and that's a very important thing. 0 Point is a book that Dr. Joe Vitale has written. One of the books he's written on Ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Chinese Chinese, ancient Hawaiian mantra. Call it a prayer if you like. And it's simple. I'll give it to you. It's 4 sentences, if I may. 4 short sentences.
Yeah.
Ho'oponopono. Look it up. Here it is. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Now, any one of those will work if you just keep repeating them. I love you would be one that you could just forget about the rest, and you could just repeat that over and over and over. I forgive you. I'm sorry. I'll let you do your own research on Ho'oponopono, the ancient Hawaiian mantra ritual, cleansing, healing. Dr. Joe Vitale, 0 point.
Great. So onto that brings us nicely over to manifestation and the law of attraction. Now you've already gone into it. And when did you start realizing that? Well, when did law of attraction really come into your life? When did manifestation start? When did you start going down that track of the law of attraction and manifestation and manifesting your life to where you want it to be and how you want it to plan out?
Good. I understand the question. I was an ineffective and inefficient seeker of using the law of attraction since the 1980s. And I can tell you the book that I first read. In fact, it's on the shelf behind me. I won't go and get it because I'm plugged in. But Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. Now, I read that book from a social worker, service provider perspective because I was looking for angles and insights and things like that. That's the first real. So the first book I read. So this is interesting. I was a very, very naughty boy when I was young. I was a bad student who hated authority. So if you told me to do that, I wouldn't do it. But if you told me to do that, I'd go and do that. So that was me. And so I would. I took shortcuts right through up to our equivalent in Australia, year 12. I don't know what that is in England or in America, but year 12. And I never read a book right through, all through school. So when we'd be assigned to write a book, I'd just read the summary or the flick through the chapters and get the gist and write an essay or soon enough to pass, always cutting corners. The first book I actually read from cover to cover was The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, and I was 21. The one after that was, and that book kind of leans into the law of attraction, although it's more from a religious, there's a quite heavily a religious slant because Dr. Norman Vincent Peale was a man of the cloth. And look, when you go to a buffet or a smorgasbord, you don't eat every dish on the bloody tray. You take what you want and you leave some of it. So you read something like Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's Power of Positive Thinking, and when there's references to the Bible or verses from, if it's not for you, you just skip past it and keep looking for the parts. You only need one good idea from a book. Research says that most people don't get past the first chapter of a book they read. I mean, Michael, have you ever bought a book and not finished it?
About 90% of them downstairs.
How did I know that? Because most people are the same. So you're not even if you're going to start reading a book, you're not even going to get all the way through it if you try and read every word on every page, on every chapter of every. So flick through a book, and I actually learned this from I can't remember his name, but he was the guy that wrote. He's the inventor of mind mapping. Somebody will know his name. It's just not there at the moment. He's got lots of books on it back in the 80s and 90s, and he also wrote a book on how to speed read, not the photographic speed reading where you're letting your subconscious mind do the reading and you're gazing at a page. Not that, but his strategy was, I've done this and it's helped me get through books, is you determine first of all, what is it you want? What is it you most want to get out of the book? What's a key word that you'd want to get out of a book? So law of attraction might be, if you're reading a law of attraction book, the key word you're looking for might be manifestation, right? So you read all the contents of the book in the start. You read every word of the contents. You read the front cover of the book. I'll give you the full lesson. You read the front cover of the book word for word. You read the back cover of the book word for word. You read the contents word for word. You scan through the introduction. Then you do one scan through of the whole book, reading only the chapter headings and any of the subheadings in the book. Now, that in itself can be enough to give you enough insight to get one idea. But he suggests you do it 3 times, not all in one day. And the second time, you look at these headings, the chapter headings, as you're flicking through each page, new chapter, subheadings. They're normally bold in most books, particularly non-fiction books, which is the books I'm. This doesn't relate to novels, obviously. This is non-fiction books we're referring to, as you're aware, Michael. You flick through, you're looking at the subheadings, but you've also got your peripheral vision looking for the word manifestation. And you can train your mind to focus, and you'll find it. It'll pop out at you. And when you see it, you just read the sentence before it, you read the sentence with manifestation in it, and you read the sentence after it, and then you keep flicking. And you do that 2 or 3 times, and you will have read the book, and you only need one good idea. The mistake that I've made in the past, and maybe you've made, Michael, and maybe 1 or 2 of your viewers, is you pick up a non-fiction book and you treat it like you've got to read every word on every page and absorb the whole message. Most of it's fluff and filler anyway. And it kills you. No wonder we don't get past chapter 1. It's just too freaking hard. So this is a strategy that I suggest, and I can't remember how we got onto that. Can you pull me back on point?
No. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All right.
I actually don't know how we got onto that myself, but that's really interesting. And it's probably a strategy that I will probably use myself, because, like I said, 90% of my books downstairs I haven't read. I haven't got time to read.
Yeah.
Who has got time to read? If you're a creator, if you're a business owner, if you're working inside your business as well, who has got time to read book after book after book? I don't think anybody is. So that's a great strategy that you just give away to us, and one that I will definitely use. And you're right, a lot of books do fluff and fill in the content dramatically to make it obviously a lot more substantial, a lot more bigger. One of them being The Secret, which is an extremely powerful book, an extremely powerful film, or whatever it was. I think it was a film on it.
Yeah.
And it's extremely powerful, but you'll notice that around about 50% of the book is just repeated words in a different manner, in a different way. I would probably say it's probably more than 50%. And doing what you just explained to do would speed up the process dramatically, and you'd probably get 2 or 3 great ideas out of that book from just doing that.
Yeah, well, that book, so written by Rhonda Byrne, and she also produced the movie The Secret, came out in 2006. Rhonda Byrne, a fellow Australian, actually from my state, and she based the book The Secret on a book that her daughter gave her, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, one of my favourite books that I like to recommend. So much so, now talk about reading and not reading. I mean, I have read that book cover to cover, lost count, and I also have it on Audible, but you can also find the narrated version on YouTube and not pay a cent. There's multiple versions of it. And actually listening to now some people prefer to read, some people prefer to listen. I have an Audible account. Do you have an Audible account, Michael?
I do, yes.
Yeah, so I'm getting at least one book a month, sometimes more. And I listen to my Audible books at night, more than not, when I go to bed. And I don't worry that I fall asleep listening to a book, because I know the subconscious is hearing it while I'm drifting off to sleep. And I set a timer. I normally set a 60-minute timer, so it's not going all night. But Rhonda Byrne, The Secret, The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace D. Wattles. If, may I speak directly to the viewers, if you have not yet read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, drop everything, turn off the stove, turn off the kettle, stop talking to the family, go and get a copy, and read it, because it is potentially life-changing. It changed my life. I'll tell you what, The Science of Getting Rich, the book, was part of my therapy at the very early stages of treatment for depression and addiction. Now, you might think, well, how in the heck is The Science of Getting Rich going to help somebody get their feet back on the ground and come back from depression and alcohol addiction and the rest of it? I substituted, talk about a dream, Michael, talk about having a mission and a purpose. My dream was that I would be happy and healthy again. That was it. I mean, without even forget your happiness. If you're not healthy, you're dead. What's the point? There's nothing left. You're not alive. You've got to be healthy. And I didn't have health, and I wanted health so I could continue, because I didn't want to die. I was suicidal. Tried multiple times, hospitalized for it. I didn't really want to die. I just wanted the pain to go away. So I substituted rich, The Science of Getting Rich, for happy, healthy, my mission. Not to use alcohol or drugs anymore, overcome depression. That's what rich meant to me. So I substituted that. So I got a free version of the book, which I can't remember where I got it from, but I've actually got it. It's open source, so there's no copyright on it. The guy, Mike DeWitt's, actually you can search Mike DeWitt's Science of Getting Rich. I think it's the best, in my opinion, the best narrated version of The Science of Getting Rich, Mike DeWitt's. And you'll find that, I think, on YouTube, but I've actually got it published somewhere on a blog of mine, which can be accessed. And it's also accessible on archive.org. You'll find it there, which is where everything that's ever been published on the internet is stored, believe it or not. I read that book, The Science. Is it in here? You betcha. Can I quote you a little bit of it? All right, let me. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought. Man, or mankind, man and woman, man can form things in his thought. And by impressing his thought on the thinking stuff, we could call it God, we could call it the universe, you can call it Buddha, you can call it what you like, call it a gum tree. It doesn't matter. The name you give it doesn't matter, doesn't change it. We can impress our thoughts upon this thinking stuff and cause the things we think about to be created. This is in line with manifestation. Now, does that mean that all I had to do, or let's take it off me, let's say one of our viewers right now has a goal to manifest a new car. Let's just say that, right? Very materialistic, but hey, there's nothing wrong with wanting a new car. You want a new car? You damn well go for it. You want a new house? Do not let anybody tell you that you're not entitled to a new house. You go for it. Somebody's got the goal of to manifest a new car. So they listen to Mike Searles talking to Michael and Michael Ellis, and they think, righto, so this dude thinks all I've got to do is just think of a new red Porsche and I'll go to bed tonight and tomorrow morning it'll be in the driveway. Well, no, it will not happen like that. That's not what manifestation is about. The critics and the skeptics, bless their cotton socks, they like to disparage us people who believe in the law of attraction that way. They say that we believe that you just think something into reality. That's not what we think at all. That's not how it works. So what action do you need to take? What action would somebody have to take in order to manifest a new red Porsche or blue Porsche or whatever colour? Well, there's a lot of things that might need. It depends. Maybe the person's is broken and has no money and has no inheritance coming and there are no relatives. So where's the money going to come from? Well, we don't know. We don't even know where the car's going to come from. Maybe the car will come without any money. Oh, how can a car come from out? That's crazy. You've got to have money to buy a car. Well, no, you don't. Have you not ever heard of somebody winning a car from a competition? I mean, that's just an extreme example. You've got to think in terms of broad possibilities and stop limiting your ideas to what you believe is the only way it's possible. And so this is coming back to something I remember we were talking about, Michael. Question people ask is, why doesn't the law of attraction work for me? I've read the books. I'm doing the work. I'm taking the action. I've gone to the car yard, I've sat in the car, I've felt the leather, I've smelt the new car, I've taken it for a test drive, etc., etc. It's just not happening. How long have you had your law of attraction goal in plan? I've had it 3 weeks now. Well, maybe you need 4 weeks or 4 years. Be patient, for it will not be late. It will come. It will not be late. The other thing, Michael, is what we talked about earlier, these paradigms in the subconscious, these belief blockers. Dr. Joe Vitale refers to these as intention blockers. So we set a positive intention to get a new car and we do all of the right things, but it's just not happening, and we start to lose a sense of this is going to happen for me. We start to lose confidence. These are intention blockers or belief blockers that are in the paradigms that may have been, look, maybe somebody's been brought up where they've been brought up in a home environment that was all about lack and limitation. We don't have enough money for that. Only the rich people can do that, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's been this conditioning, slow conditioning. And so as an adult, we start living subconsciously, not our fault, from a space of limit, lack and limitation. And these subconscious limiting beliefs can block the positive intention and the positiveness and the attraction of the energy that will bring manifestation of what you want to you. But here, I'm going to quote Bob Proctor here. And if there was one thing that anybody during this conversation with us, Michael, could really take a note of, it's this. You really, really can have what you want. You really can. It doesn't have to be a material thing. It could be like me. I wanted my health, my mental health and my physical health restored. That to me, no money in the world could put a price on that. That's what I wanted. That's what I've got today. I write every morning, I write my goals, my mission statement and my gratitudes. And one of my gratitudes is I am so happy and grateful that I'm alive today. And I don't just write that down as it's not just ink coming from the pen going on paper. It's not just an intellectual thing. This is coming from deep from within me, the emotion. Did you know? I heard someone say, and I love it, what is a thought? For example, Earl Nightingale says in The Stranger's Secret, he recorded that in 1957. It's still listened to by millions of people every day on YouTube. Go and listen to it. 31 minutes, life-changing. The Stranger's Secret, Earl Nightingale, he says, we become what we think about. Prentice Mulford wrote a book by the title, Thoughts Are Things. He wrote that 100 years ago. Napoleon Hill wrote in Think and Grow Rich, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Thoughts are things, such powerful things that we become what we think about. So where did I get to? Yeah. So a thought without emotion. Like, have you heard anybody suggest, Michael, that we should state our affirmations in the mirror to ourselves in the morning?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, it's never come easy to me. Particularly the one where you have to look yourself in the eye and say, I love you. Well, I just couldn't do it once upon a time. I can now. I don't mean that in any egotistical way. I love not who I am, but what I am, because I know what I am today, and I won't go down that path, but it's a spiritual. I mean, I have a spiritual basis to who I am today. Affirmations. So you may hear, if you read some books on affirmations, do the mirror technique. Louise Hay actually talked about the mirror technique in one of her books. Look at yourself in the mirror and repeat your affirmation. Now, it starts off as just a pure intellectual exercise. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. Okay, where's the coffee? All right? It's just an intellectual thing. There's nothing to it. And then you keep doing it. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. Week or shall we say month 2 after doing it every day. Here's what happens. I am so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. Now, did you sense any difference in the way I delivered that? In the latter one, there was emotion involved in it. This is why affirmations don't work for some people, because it's just an intellectual parroting of words. There's no meaning or emotion to it. What is emotion? Emotion is thought in motion. It's an interesting concept. Emotion is thought in motion throughout the body. Oh, Mike, rubbish. Oh, no, look it up. Look it up. Look up the neuroscience of what happens when we have a thought. We have neurochemicals that are fired depending on certain thoughts. And there's also peptides and hormones that are generated, all in the beautiful way it's designed. Thoughts become things, powerful things. Thoughts are things, such powerful things, we become what we think about. Earl Nightingale had it right before we were even born in 1957. I was born in 58. I might have been a little bit of an idea in my dad's mind at that time. But anyway, thoughts are things, powerful things, and we become what we think about. When you're using your affirmations, put feeling into it. I'll give you a quick story, Mike. Have we got time, Michael? Have we got time?
Yeah, of course, we've got time.
Righto. So here's how it was put to me. There's the story of a guy, shall we say, my age. No, we'll make it Michael, your age. A guy your age, he's at a birthday. It's your birthday, and you've got family and friends at your house for your birthday party. And it's kicking along. Everyone's having a great time. And you get handed a gift. It's a card. Happy birthday, Michael. Terrific. Thank you very much. Oh, hang on. There's a scratchy inside. Now, in Australia, we call them scratchy. I don't know what you call them in England or in America, but they're cards that you scratch off numbers and you may win a big prize.
Mm-hmm.
There's a scratchy in it. Oh. Hey, he's got a scratchy. Scratch the card. You take another look. You show somebody. All of a sudden, your palms start getting sweaty. Your heart starts beating fast. And you start spending the $1 million you've just won in your head. You've just won $1 million. Oh, everybody goes crazy. Pop the champagne now. Let's not wait. And you start going around the house behaving like you've never behaved before, because you've just won $1 million, right? High emotion. In your mind, you've just become an instant millionaire. It says it there. And then the person who gave you the card with the scratchy says, Michael, we better just bring you back down to earth. It's a gag. You know these scratchy cards, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, your emotion comes down. You have a giggle about it afterwards, but for the time being, so what was it in somebody at that moment when they believed that they'd won $1 million? What went through from the mind to the body to elevate the mood, the excitement, the belief? In your mind, you start already spending how you're going to spend $1 million. The thing is, it was in the mind as a thought. It became an emotion, thought in motion through the body, and you reacted in an excited way. That's what we need to do with them, our affirmations. If we're just reciting them into the mirror, or if you're not using the mirror technique, if you wake up in the morning, oh, the book said I've got to do my affirmations upon awakening and before I go to bed. Oh, I'm in a hurry. All right then, hang on a minute. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. All right, I'm done. Waste of time, forget about it. You're wasting your own time. But you don't have to do the mirror technique, but give yourself a moment and get the feeling. How does it feel? Neville Goddard. If you haven't heard the name of Neville Goddard, get familiar with it. They're now long past. But he's also got a ton of YouTube videos. You can find them and they're everywhere. Look up Neville Goddard, Living in the End. So there's a lot of Neville Goddard YouTube videos, MP3s, books. But the one to listen to is Living in the End. And what he means by that is don't live as if you're going towards your mission, your dream, your goal. Live as if you're coming from it, not to it. You're coming from it. You're living in that end space where it's already happened, and get the emotions going. Now, I can see that it's an hour, and I'm not sure what your time frame's like, Michael. And I warned you how I can prattle on. So I'll give the director's cut. The wind up. I'm in your hands again.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Michael. I mean, the last time we did it, the unreleased episode, it was a pleasure talking to you then, and that's the reason why I've got you back on, because you're a fascinating man. You are a fascinating man, and you're a treasure trove of experiences, knowledge, and books. I mean, you've got a love for books. So, look, there's one question that I really did want to ask you. And we obviously know that the Science of Getting Rich is your all-time favorite book, the one that you've read cover to cover many times, and you could probably recite many, many quotes out of it. But I should imagine you're a man that has had a favorite book or a book that you've related to in all areas or different areas of your life. So obviously not whilst you were growing up, because you didn't have you wasn't a big reader back then, but from that point on, at which stages of life did you find great meaning inside books, and which books?
That's a great question. And by the way, thank you for your kind words. I really do appreciate it. And it's a pleasure talking with you again too, Michael. What comes to mind straight away is the Alcoholics Anonymous book, the big book. Now, most people may not know that there is a book that Alcoholics Anonymous use as a guide, I suppose. And I would suggest that it's not a book that has to be restricted to someone who may be alcoholic or is alcoholic, or someone who has a relative or a close friend who's an alcoholic. I want to suggest that there's parts in that book that anybody can read and take from and learn from, unrelated to alcoholism or addiction or mental health even for that matter. Like what I said earlier, if you go to a smorgasbord or a buffet, you don't go and take everything that's on there that's available. You choose what you like and what you want, and you leave the rest. So the big book is literally the title of the AA book. I read that. Well, my first AA meeting was in 1989 when I was age 31. And even then I was being told, so I'm a slow learner. Even then I was being told to stop drinking and almost lost a very good job I had at the time. And I did end up losing it. So anyway, the big book. I want to mention a non-fiction book only because I want to balance it. Now, there's a humorous book written by a pseudonym. The name is Nino Culotta. The actual author's name, John O'Grady, an Australian guy now since passed. And the book is They're a Weird Mob. Now, it's got nothing to do with that mob, as in the mafia. It's totally fiction, but based on real characters, as a lot of humour and comedy is. I've actually done stand-up comedy. You mentioned about the things I've done. I've actually done stand-up comedy, and I've hosted a comedy room in Melbourne, and I've written comedy, and I've performed comedy. So a lot of comedy is based, particularly writers who are writing comedy, write comedy from personal experience. So the characters that they design are actually characters in real life. So John O'Grady wrote this book, They're a Weird Mob, and there's a central character who is this dude from Italy who comes to Sydney, Australia, and gets work as a bricklayer or a labourer on a building site. And it's just how this Nino Culotta is his name. Nino is his name, and how he adapts or doesn't adapt to Australian culture in the 1960s. Very different culture than what it is today. And so, if anybody likes to read novels and fiction and is into a bit of humour and wants to have a fart and a giggle, this is a book I would recommend. And especially if you're curious about the old Australian culture of when I was born and what the culture I grew up in, have a read of that book. Now, pertinent to the question, Michael, the sharp end of your question was, I think, is there one book that was a turning point or a real feature? Was that the question?
Yeah, different stages in your life, though.
Yeah. Well, the books I read back when I was back in the 80s and the 90s, so almost everybody who ends up seeing a social worker for personal reasons, not financial problems or whatever, but personal development reasons, has an issue with self-image. It's just across the board. That's why self-image psychology is such a thing. And if you're going to read a pop psychology book, read Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Very interesting. Dr. Maxwell Maltz also passed. He was a plastic surgeon. Nothing to do with self-image psychology. What? Everything to do with self-image psychology, because people came to him. He was a cosmetic surgeon, so he would make faces look better than what they were born. Nose jobs, ear jobs, skin, things like that. And he would notice how somebody's self-esteem would improve because the molecules and the structure of the face had been rearranged. And he became quite intrigued by the psychology behind it. And so he actually wrote this book, Psycho-Cybernetics, which has the premise that actually the premise of it is forget the nose job, get a mindset job, much better for you and cheaper. So that was a turning book. Again, I was a slow learner because I read that in the 1980s because I had self-image issues as well. Did I say had? I still do have them. We do have them. I've taken hot or cold, the middle word or, I've removed that from my lexicon. From now on, there's no up or down, in or out, hot or cold, good or bad. I've replaced the or with the word and. Now, this is quite powerful. It's a powerful concept. There's hot
Love or
and
love.
cold. Yeah. What's that?
I said love or love.
Yes, yes. So there's hot and cold. There's up and down. It's not either or. It's not an either or world we live in. So back to the question that you asked earlier. Can someone always be positive? No. Positive and negative. That's what life is. There's good and there's bad. Although, what was his name? Okay, his name escapes me, but a psychologist over 100 years ago said, no, it wasn't a psychologist, it was Shakespeare who said that, wrote in one of his books, there is no such thing as good or bad, but thinking makes it so. It's an interesting concept. So anyway, I've replaced or, and it's a good concept because when we live from that position of or, you're either good or you're bad, you're either with me or you're against me, you set yourself up for living a polar life one way or the other. And when you live a polarized life, you end up pushing the other side right away. And that is not always a good thing. Not easy either, by the way. Bloody hard, in fact, to live an and life instead of an or life. But it's worth the effort, I found.
So that takes you like 1980s, early 1990s. What other books have had a profound impact on you throughout your life?
All right, so let me think to more recently then. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles, we mentioned. The big book, the AA book, more recent, in the last 20 years. See, when I saw somebody's a coach, a life coach with a website. Look, I'm going to apologise in advance. If you're 20 years old, right, this is not going to be nice to your ears. A life coach at 20, nice website, proudly, and I think great on him, good on him, started his internet business at the age of 10. Great, been successful at it. But 2020, the year 2000 to me is like yesterday, but maybe that's also because I'm 62, almost 63. But anything by Dr. Joe Vitale, if you're in the business side of things, so let's just forget the metaphysical, esoteric type material. If you want to learn how to write persuasively, so let's just say you're a business person who's writing your own emails, copy, writing your own copy. Get Dr. Joe Vitale's book, Hypnotic Writing. I highly recommend it. And I'm not the only one although it's one of the least mentioned books, because he's not part of the copywriting set, right? He's not part of the niche. He's not part of the clique. And there is a clique. If you haven't worked it out yet, there's a clique. More power to them. So Dr. Joe Vitale, now Joseph Sugarman, who wrote the Newsweek AdWords book, there's only one copywriter he mentions in his index of source index in the back of that book. It's Dr. Joe Vitale he mentions 3 times. There's no other copywriter he references 3 times in the index of his bibliography. And that's saying something. Joseph Sugarman, one of the great copywriters and ad men of last century. More recently, well, I tell you, there's a book I'm reading right now on Audible. A fellow Brit. You might even know of him, Steve Sims. Do you know of him?
I do not know.
Put him on your invite list, put him on your Christmas card list, put him on your must have a look at list. Steve Sims his book is Blue Fisher, and it's on Audible, And Steve Sims is a Brit who lives in America, and he's the guy who can do anything you want. That's his positioning statement. If you want it done, I'll get it done for you. And so what does that mean? Well, I mean, I don't mean. So his clients are the rich and the wealthy, and he had a client that wanted a really nice dinner organised. Not so, what did you think of a 5-star restaurant? No. Steve Sims organised to have a dinner table set at the foot of the statue of David in Italy, and had a famous opera singer who's unreachable come and sing serenade at the table for 6 guests. So he's the guy that does that, Steve Sims. He's written a book called Blue Fish. It was published only in 2018, so it's only relatively new. That book's got some very good, positive, motivational ideas in it. And basically his message is, if I may use a little bit of language, don't mean to offend anybody, but get off your fat ass. If you want to do something, get off your ass and do it, because there's nothing stopping you. The thing that's stopping you is between your ears. Stop limiting your own beliefs in what you can do. That's a Steve Sims message. Apologies. Apologies if I've offended anybody.
No, but that message is completely true. Yeah. The only thing that does stop us is what's in between this, what's inside there.
Yeah, I've got a ton of books. Most of my books are home in Australia in storage. But pardon me if I just turn around. There'll be a title here. Yeah, Joseph Sugarman, turn your words into money. Not Joe. No, that's. I can't think, but it's staring me in the face. Excuse my back. Oh, now that is a good book. All right, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being You. That's just there behind me. I read that just a few years ago. So I've actually got this is what I do is I buy the Audible book first, Michael, and if I really get into it, I'll buy the hard copy, because I want to deliver the message through different senses so that it becomes internalized. So in through the ears, in through the eyes. And
I do a very similar system.
You do?
Yeah, I generally do. So generally, if I've heard of a book, I'll go listen to a summary on YouTube or something like that, or read a summary online somewhere. You'll generally find them for nearly every single book that is out there. Then I'll either buy it, or I will buy it on, or I'll get it on Audible and listen to it. Then I'll generally buy it. So I go through multiple stages of reading books, and that's the reason why I've got 9% of them downstairs that I haven't read, because I'll have read the summary and I'll have bought that, started reading it, and gone, you know what, I ain't got time to read it all. Let's put it down. But I've already taken some main points out of the book anyway, because I've read the summary.
And you only need one. You only need one.
And you only need one. But I do the same. I do the same thing. But I do the same thing. That's how I read the great books that I want to read, and how I take it all, pretty much a lot of it in, because I will read the summary. I'll listen to the summary. I will listen to it, and I will also read it. So, just like I said, the different senses.
It works well. It may not work for everybody, but it works for you and me. I do have a suggestion, and this is for our fellow viewers and listeners who have an Audible account. And this is the shortcut method. I told you before I have a history of taking shortcuts. Here's a shortcut. There's a title on Audible and I may just look away from the screen while I check his name, but in fact, excuse me, it'll just take me a minute. Let me just do it quickly.
Yep.
And just because I want to give you the correct name of the, yeah, there it is. So come back to you again. Yeah. So the author is Tom Butler Bowden, a hyphenated name. Now, the name Bowden should be familiar to a Brit, and he is actually the son of Camilla Bowden, who married Prince Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And he writes, authors, and has done for, I think, about 20 years now, a series of books called the 50 Classics. And so, for example, he will read the classics in a genre, let's say self-help, and then he publishes 50 classic self-help titles, and he reviews the top 50. And so there's a reason I'm telling you this. There's 50 self-help classics, 50 prosperity classics, and 50 success classics. Now, all those three titles, so that's 150 books reviewed on one Audible download. It's one program. So if you've got a monthly subscription like we do, I think to buy the actual book is $60 or $70 or $80 if you're not a member. But if you're a member, and I sometimes look at the high value, I like to go to Nightingale Conant and buy the Audible books there, because they're
the libraries.
The libraries, $80 worth, right? Earl Nightingale Library and Jim Rohn Library.
Jim Rohn, yeah.
Great value, right? You with me? So hop onto Audible and check Tom Butler Bowden, or just search 50 Classics and look for the trilogy, 50 Self-Help Classics, 50 Success Classics, 50 Prosperity Classics, over 20 hours of listening, and knock yourself out. Talk about taking a shortcut. 150 classic books across 3 genres, summarized, read by Tom and summarized beautifully. He writes beautifully. Bingo, bango. Put your glasses down, game over.
Well, I've got 20 hours of listening to do. That's going to keep me busy for some time. But no, that's great find that you've found at some point. But yeah, that's another one for the listeners at home. If the libraries, the Ultimate Libraries by it's Nightingale. Nightingale. What's that last word?
So it's Nightingale Conant, Conant, and the story to that is that Earl Nightingale, that's the Nightingale, Earl Nightingale, the guy I referenced earlier who voice recorded The Strangest Secret in 1957, compulsory listening. And Vic Conant, who's now passed on as well, his son now runs Nightingale Conant. Vic Conant, now it was Vic Conant of Nightingale Conant who gave Bob Proctor a copy, the first copy of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill's book, back in 1961. Now, up until that point, Bob Proctor he'll tell you, you may already know Bob Proctor's story, and he tells his own story, so I'm not going to cut his lunch, but he was living a messed up life. He wasn't going anywhere. He's in debt. And Vic Conant gave him a copy of Napoleon Hill. And Bob Proctor has studied that book, he says, and I believe him, every day, almost every day, since 1961. I told you the guy's a dinosaur. He's 85. I hope he lives to be 125. I don't look forward to that day when I wake up and hear that Bob Proctor is no longer with us. But he's still with us. He's still very active. He said he feels sick. Hey, let me tell you, with what I've been through, I should look like I'm 185. Here's the miracle. Like you want proof of the law of attraction working. Look at me. I'm your living proof. I had a medical checkup here. I'm in the Philippines with my wife and my family. I'm Australian, but I'm living in the Philippines, married to a Filipino, and we have a daughter here. And I went for a medical checkup with a doctor here, about 18 months ago. And so the full checkup, when you have a medical checkup, you get the full works done, right? And there's ultrasound and full bloods and all the rest of it. And he said, I came back for the results. He said, so let me just check. So you're, at that time I was 60, you're 60. Yeah. He said, well, you've got the health, the body, the physical health of a 40-year-old. Really? Yeah, your heart, your lungs, your liver, everything is how we would expect to see the indices, the results of the test, more like a 40-year-old. Now, do you remember I told you how sick and sad and broke I was in 2009? I've got scars on my body from how I've mistreated my body and my health over the years. Forget the mental scars, the physical scars, That's a law of attraction. Now, I've worked on that. Did I just go to bed one night and, it'd be nice if I was healthy. I hope I can wake up healthy in the morning. That'd be nice. No. Oh. No, I've cried tears, wishing and hoping and praying and affirming that I wouldn't pick up another drink, that I wouldn't pick up another drug, that I'd remain sober, clean and sober. My first, if I can quickly tell you this, early in the piece going to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, 3 weeks without a drink. I was a piss pot, right? I loved getting drunk. 3 weeks without a drink. And I was doing it tough. And this young guy, about the same age as me, there's all ages in AA, he stands up, and at an AA meeting, you're invited to stand up and give a testimonial, some people, which means they tell the story of what it was like before they got sober, how they got sober, and what life's like now they're sober. That's how a story testimonial goes. He stood up, he said, well, hi, my name's Bob. I'm an alcoholic. That's how every meeting, every testimonial starts. And it's 9 months today since I've had a drink. Now, I'd heard other guys stand up and say 9 years, 5 years, 15 years, and nothing really clicked. He said 9 months that he hadn't had a drink. And I froze, and I tell you, I thought, I can't do it. I can't get to 9 months. I've struggled to get to 3 weeks. I don't know how I'm going to get to 9 months. I can't imagine myself going 9 months without a drink. And here I am now, 2009 in another 2 months, March 2021, it'll be 12 years, is it? Make my maths right. Doesn't matter. Date at time is the more important thing. See, this is the thing, Michael, for somebody who's ever been addicted, right, they'll understand this if they come through it, particularly if they've gone through any of the 12-step programs, AA, NA, whatever. It's just for today that we worry about. If I had have kept my focus on 9 months or 9 years, I wouldn't have lasted. I couldn't have done it. I could not comprehend the scope of that intention working out. And this goes for anybody who has a mission, a dream, as you called it, a mission, a purpose, the red Porsche, the new house, the job, the relationship to get back together again and mend, the health, the finances. I'm coaching somebody at the moment who last year was wiped out more than $250,000 by a con man, cleaned her out. She's having trouble getting her mindset right to bounce back, to come back from that. How do you come back from that? I'm working with another person at the moment, a doctor, who devastated because of a relationship breakdown, having trouble to function. If you set your mind on the long-term goal and just think of the massiveness of it, and that's the only thing, you've got to have a long-term picture, but you chunk it down to a day-by-day thing. Day by day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Inch by inch, and it's a cinch. I can do anything today that if I had to think of doing it for a week or a month or a year, it'd just kill me. So that's a bit of advice, Michael, that comes to mind through serendipity, really, just by prattling on and I believe through divine. So the idea is coming through me, not from me. But I think there's somebody who's going to watch this or is watching it right now, maybe watching the recording if there is a recording. This will make sense to them, that there's some kind of a goal, a mission, a dream that at the moment it seems impossible. It's just too big. Chunk it down. What can be done on a day-by-day basis? Here it is for me. I know that tonight I'll put my head on the pillow tonight and I'll be sober, clean and sober. I just know it. Well, it's not far off bedtime here. So I just know that's going to happen. And I know that I'll wake up in the same way. And that's all I count on every day. Wake up sober, go to bed sober, job done.
There's something in that. There is something massively in that can be taken not just for addicts, but for everybody in, like I said, going for a mission, going for a goal, going for a target, going for a dream, whatever you want to call it. Like, if you focus too much on the big goal that's far in the distance, the overwhelm is going to consume you, and you're not going to get there. You might get there, and you might get there, but you're not going to get there as fast. You're not going to get there as fast if you're not concentrating on the present. If you're not focusing your efforts on the present and taking the small little steps and the small little actions that you need to do every day to align with the bigger picture.
Couldn't agree more. Well said. And a couple more insights, if I can, before we go, Michael.
Yeah, that's right.
A couple of things come to mind. Seek progress, not perfection. Now, that'll mean something to the perfectionists. See, the procrastinator is really a perfectionist in disguise. That's what it is, really. So give up the idea of perfection, of getting it right. Seek progress. One done half as good is better than none done. Now, procrastinators don't get anything done because we're too. Because I'm speaking from a reformed procrastinator here, reformed perfectionist. The other thing is this, relevant to what you were saying, Michael. Be fixed on the goal. I'll use your terminology, the dream. Be fixed on the dream, but flexible on how you get there.
Why do you keep saying it's my terminology?
Is that yours?
No, it's yours.
It's mine?
Yeah, it comes from your landing page.
Ah, I don't even know what I've got there.
The three keywords on that landing page were positivity, manifestation, and dreams, which is the reason why it's coming to the episode.
You are on the ball. Now I'm very impressed. I was just impressed before. Now I'm very impressed. Yeah, be fixed on the goal, be fixed on the mission, be fixed on the dream, but be flexible how you get there. Now, what does that mean? Well, unfortunately, some people do it the wrong way around. They remain flexible on the dream and fixed on the how you get there. And an example of that is, if anybody keeps having they keep jumping from one thing to another, right? They don't finish anything. They start a project because that's the flavour of the month, and then it's half finished, and then it's called, in marketing terminology, you'll know this, Michael, where we get we get attracted to the bright, shiny objects, right? In marketing terminology, that's what we refer to, the bright, shiny objects. And so these catch our eye. We get distracted. We were on plan goal A because goal A is the biggest. Goal A, I'm about goal A. Goal A is my life from now on. Goal A. Oh, what's that? What's that thing? That's goal B. Goal A, goal B. I'm about goal B now, right? So there's no fixation on the goal. Pick a goal and stick with it. But be flexible how you get there. So you may, now this is how it works. be fixed on goal A, start on track B or path B, but if you find that path B isn't working so well, switch to path C, but the mission of A doesn't change. That's one of the. None of these ideas, by the way, are mine. I stand on the shoulders of giants insofar of those who have gone before me. So anything that I say that sounds like it could be a good idea, trust me, it's not mine. I've taken it from somebody else.
do you know, we all do stand on top of giants, and if we didn't, we wouldn't be where we are as a human race. Because we're all seeking progress, and we learn from others, and without that learning from others, we'd be stuck in the caveman.
I've got a question for you. Now, so we've talked before, and Michael, I really appreciate the time that you've given me to come on your show and chat away, and I probably must go away in about 5 minutes if that's okay. But I've got a question for you. Now, you seem to be a very cool dude. Now, this is we've spoken before, and we're talking now. You've got it together. Now, do you meditate?
No.
Do you practice self-defense?
No.
Do you drink a lot of beer?
No, I don't drink a lot of beer, no.
What is your secret? Okay, let me tell you from my observation, if I can. No, I am a people watcher, right? I don't miss a trick, all right? Here's what I notice about you. You haven't interrupted me once. Now, that doesn't come naturally to most people. I've interrupted you once or twice. You haven't interrupted me once, which means you've got a great power to listen and be present to what the person's saying. Now, I'll stop there. I'll stop there on that. I actually thought maybe that comes because you're centered and because you meditate. Do you have a spiritual philosophy that you follow?
Not really, no. I'm just starting to look into them sort of side of things. I'm starting to plan out my miracle morning. So then I do meditate. I do a little bit of set learning instead of just when I want. And affirmations, and I want to be able to go through all that. But no, it's only this composure that I have.
Composure, that's the right word for it.
This and what you're picking up on of this cool and calmness. It's a recent thing. It is a recent thing, and it's because of my amazing wife that I've got. That's the be all and end all of it.
Is she there?
Is
she there?
She's downstairs at the moment.
Okay, so I can't see her. Righto. So behind every good man is a strong woman, right?
Yeah.
And can't say that in 21.
I'm not lying when I say it's because of her. It really is because of her. She's given me the time and the knowledge and the insight to see my errors and in my ways of what I was like before her and to where I am now. So we've been together about 3.5 years, and in that time, she really has dramatically changed my life. Through giving me the time to be able to see myself and her ability to be able to empathize with people, give them the time of the day and listen to them. It's really rubbed off on me, if you like. So that's where it's come from.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think it's bloody terrific. I really do. I think what a lucky man you are to have a wife like that. And I think it's bloody terrific to see you so composed and conduct an interview, a conversation. It hasn't been an interview, it's been an interview. I've been doing all the talking, but the conversation, whatever your wife's doing is working. And if I was a psychic, which I'm not, but if I were, here's what I'd say to you. Keep it going because there's big things happening for you this year, Michael. If I was psychic, which I'm not, but if I were, I would say to you, Michael, which is kind of like me telling you I am, Michael, that this will be a breakthrough year for you. You are about to launch in a way that you never even thought possible. So I congratulate you and I encourage you to keep going. You're on the right track. I fully support you.
Thank you. So, guys, that comes up to the end of our episode today. It's been a great one, a long one, but a great one. It's been fantastic having Mike on. As you can see, right wherever my hand is, there, down there, and on for you guys on the podcast, if you visit michaelelisonline.com/go/comeback podcast or comeback YouTube, you will go to either his podcast page or his YouTube channel, where you can delve more into the world of Mike and the comeback coach. It's been fantastic having you on, Mike. It's been lovely chatting to you. And don't forget, guys, to tune in again next time, and we'll see you on another episode.